Ladies and gentlemen, there's a war happening every day, and it doesn't play out in the world around you, it plays out in your thoughts. The most critical fight isn't physical, it's mental. The mind is a battlefield where every fear, doubt, temptation, and decision begins. What you allow to stay in your mind shapes how you feel, what you believe, and the life you end up living. Thoughts are powerful. They can either build you up or slowly destroy your peace, confidence, and purpose. Most of the time, we don't even realize how much we're being influenced by the silent messages running through our minds, messages we've never challenged but accepted as truth. This is where the enemy works. He doesn't always attack your circumstances, attacks your thoughts. He whispers lies like, "You're not enough. You'll never change," or "God has forgotten you." If he can get you to believe a lie, he knows you'll act on it as if it were true. That's why we're told to take every thought captive. Not some, every one. You can't always control what thoughts show up, but you can control what stays. That's discipline. It's refusing to feed fear, comparison, or negativity. It's filtering every thought through faith and truth. Left unguarded, your mind will drift toward what's easy, not what's right. But with intentional focus, you can train your mind to align with your purpose and God's Word. You're not a prisoner of your thoughts. You're the gatekeeper. And when you discipline your mind, you don't just survive the battle, you win it. Because the strongest life is built on a mind rooted in truth, not ruled by emotion. Mental discipline is the difference between living life by design and living by default. Every dream, every goal, every relationship, even your peace, all begin in the mind. Without discipline, your thoughts become scattered, reactive, and driven by emotion. You wake up each day pulled in 100 directions, and instead of leading your thoughts, you follow them. That's how people stay stuck, not because they lack potential, but because they never learn to take control of what happens in their mind. Discipline is what helps you stay focused when life gets noisy. It helps you say no when distractions scream for your attention. It allows you to stay grounded in truth when fear tries to shake your confidence. A disciplined mind doesn't give up because it feels tired, and it doesn't chase every impulse. It holds the line between who you are and who you're becoming. You can have talent, faith, and opportunity, but without mental discipline, none of it lasts. You'll start things but never finish. You'll believe for a moment, then doubt the next. That's because the mind is where momentum begins. What you think repeatedly becomes what you believe, and what you believe determines how you show up in life. Discipline shapes that pattern. Mental discipline also protects your peace. Without it, every negative comment, every bad day, every emotion can knock you off course. But when your mind is trained, you don't react to everything you choose what deserves your energy. That's freedom. And that's why discipline matters. Because when you master your mind, you become the kind of person who can handle pressure, stay faithful, and keep showing up no matter what. Waiting for motivation is one of the biggest traps people fall into. Motivation comes and goes, it's a feeling, and like all feelings, it's unreliable. Some days you wake up energized, other days you don't. If your progress depends on how motivated you feel, your growth will always be inconsistent. That's why the mind must lead. Discipline says, I don't need to feel like it to do it. It shows up regardless of mood, regardless of circumstances. A disciplined mind understands that consistency builds results, not occasional inspiration. It trains you to act out of purpose, not emotion. While motivation is emotional fuel, mental discipline is structure. It's what keeps you going when the excitement wears off. Real change doesn't come from hyped-up moments. It comes from steady decisions made when nobody's watching. The strongest people aren't always the most motivated. They're the most mentally trained. They've learned to push through resistance, stay focused on goals, and silence the voice that says, not today. Mind over motivation means choosing action even when there's no spark, because the mission matters more than the mood. When your mind is committed, motivation becomes a bonus, not a requirement. That's how you stay consistent, and that's how transformation happens. Your mind is like a garden. Whatever you plant and nurture will grow. The thoughts you choose to entertain, the emotions you dwell on, the words you speak over yourself, all act as seeds. And whether you realize it or not, you're feeding something every single day. You might be feeding fear by constantly worrying, feeding insecurity by comparing yourself to others, or feeding doubt by rehearsing what went wrong. Over time, those small, unchecked thoughts grow into deeply rooted beliefs that begin to shape how you live, how you see yourself, and how you see the world. The truth is, your mind doesn't stay neutral. It's always developing in one direction or another. The more attention you give something, the stronger it becomes. If you consistently feed your faith with truth, gratitude, and purpose, that mindset will grow. You'll find strength in difficult moments and clarity when things get loud. But if you keep feeding negativity, bitterness, and distraction, you'll begin to notice it affecting your mood, your decisions, even your relationships. Feeding the right things takes intentionality. It means choosing to fill your mind with content that builds you up, surrounding yourself with voices that align with your values, and thinking thoughts that support your growth. It means catching toxic patterns before they take root and replacing them with truth that brings life. The more you repeat that process, the more natural it becomes and the stronger your mindset grows. What you feed will eventually lead your life. Your peace, your purpose, and your progress are directly tied to the mental diet you choose. So be careful what you allow to grow, because whether it's fear or faith, discipline or distraction, whatever you nurture will shape the future you live in. God calls us to renew our minds because He knows real transformation starts from within. He doesn't just want us to change our behavior, He wants to change the way we think. When we align our thoughts with His truth, we break free from the lies, fear, and patterns that hold us back. Renewing your mind means replacing old thoughts of doubt, shame, and limitation with God's promises, peace, and purpose. It's a daily choice to believe what He says over what the world says. This isn't just about self-help, it's about surrender. Letting God reshape your mindset brings clarity, strength, and peace that the world can't give. Through His Word and His Spirit, He leads us into a new way of thinking, and that new thinking leads to a new way of living. The more we allow Him to renew our minds, the more we become who He created us to be: strong, focused, and free. Every single day we are faced with thoughts that either lift us up or tear us down. And too often, without realizing it, we allow lies to settle into our minds and shape how we see ourselves, our future, and even God. These lies don't usually sound loud or obvious. They whisper through comparison, fear, regret, and shame. You're not enough. You'll never change. God doesn't care about someone like you. And over time, if we don't reject them, we start living like they're true. But here's the truth. God never called you to live under the weight of lies. He gave you His Word to replace every deception with truth. You are loved, you are chosen, you are forgiven. You are capable through His strength. But embracing that truth requires you to actively challenge what doesn't align with it. You can't let every thought roam freely in your mind. You have to take authority over what stays. Rejecting lies doesn't mean pretending the pain or struggle isn't reality. It means choosing not to let the enemy have the final word. It's looking at your past and saying, that happened, but it doesn't define me. It's hearing the fear and saying, I feel it, but I won't follow it. It's realizing that your worth isn't measured by your performance or people's approval, but by what God has already declared over you. Embracing truth is a daily decision. It's not always easy, but it's always freeing. As you start to replace lies with truth, you'll notice your confidence grow, your peace return, and your vision become clearer. You begin to walk in alignment with who you were really created to be: not limited, not lost, but restored, equipped, and empowered. The enemy wants to keep you in a mental prison, but God is calling you into freedom. That freedom starts in your thoughts. So today, choose to reject the lie and believe the truth. Because truth doesn't just set you free, it makes you strong. In life, victory isn't just about talent, luck, or external circumstances. It's about the battle that takes place within your own mind. The most successful people aren't necessarily the smartest or the most gifted. They are the ones who have learned to master their thoughts. A disciplined mind doesn't wander aimlessly or let emotions dictate its actions. Instead, it remains focused, aligned with purpose, and rooted in truth. This mental discipline is the foundation for lasting success, peace, and strength. A victorious mind is one that refuses to be moved by fear, negativity, or doubt. It knows that thoughts are powerful, and it takes control over what it allows to grow. It doesn't allow itself to be swayed by distractions or the opinions of others. Instead, it fixes its attention on what is true, noble, and worthy of focus. The disciplined mind doesn't wait for motivation to strike before taking action. It understands that consistent effort, even when motivation wanes, will always lead to results. This is where true victory begins, in the ability to keep going, even when you don't feel like it, and to choose the right thoughts, habits, and actions that align with your purpose. The disciplined mind knows that challenges are inevitable, but they don't define it. It faces setbacks with resilience and uses them as stepping stones, not obstacles. A victorious mind understands that failure is not the end. It's simply feedback and a chance to grow. It keeps its eyes on the prize, pushing through difficulties with the unwavering belief that the best is yet to come. The mind trained in discipline is the one that turns obstacles into opportunities and setbacks into comebacks. Ultimately, the disciplined mind is the victorious mind because it never gives up. It doesn't quit when things get hard, and it doesn't let temporary failures define its future. It understands that victory is not won in the moment of success, but in the countless small decisions that lead to it. When your mind is disciplined, you shape your destiny not by chance, but by choice. Good luck. Thank you.